Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode of the With Love from Liv show. My name is Liv, and I love that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. So, today's episode, we are going to chat about the fact that Taylor Swift single handedly just made marriage great again. So, obviously, last week, everyone was going crazy with the announcement of the Lover Girl, the woman who made an entire career, many, many albums, a huge impact on our society from being the girl who got burned, just got proposed to by the man she says is the love of her life. That's huge. That is literally one of the biggest cultural shifts that we are going to see in our lifetime. Mark my words. So, the thing is, we have been living in a Carrie society for decades, right? If you saw Sex in the City, then you know, or you talk to any feminists, you know that our society has really, really promoted this idea that marriage is outdated, that it harms women, and it was built on this lie that men are not interested in marriage and men just want to be casual. And then we had the, Carrie Revolution where women just wanted to be like men and have casual sex. And ironically, because that series ended with all of those women in serious, committed, monogamous relationships, right? But with the turning of the page in Taylor's love story, we are going to see a drastic shift in our. I think that it has been a long time coming. I think that we have seen the seeds of this shift planted and starting to sprout for a long time. I actually think that the trad wife movement is kind of the first like seedlings of that change. But with this announcement, Taylor Swift is the largest cultural icon of our day, right? I'm not saying she's the biggest icon that has ever lived, and maybe she will be, but as of today, there is not one person, one celebrity who is more idolized than Taylor Swift. I mean, have you ever talked to a Swiftie? They're diehards, right? So, of course, she is coming out and she is saying, hey, guys, not only am I engaged, but she recently released a statement talking about how her and Travis Kelce have talked about kids. I don't know exactly what they said, so please don't come for me in the comments. And she has talked about like she's getting into sourdough recipes and obviously spending some time on blogs and Pinterest, whatever. And that is enormous because here's a woman who is worth billions of dollars and she is incredibly famous. She's done these world tours, sold out stadiums. And she's like, you know what? All of that is great. And I love what I do and I love my music. And I want to get married. And I want to be a wife. And I want to be a mom. And for so many years, our society has painted being a wife and being a mom as this scarlet letter that is, so beneath modern women to even consider, right? I can't even tell you how many women spoke down to me about, and men, in fact, about wanting to be a wife and a mom. Like that was the dumbest thing that they'd ever heard, right? And it's so fascinating to see this shift. And the shift has already started literally this week. So Taylor Swift, obviously, she announces her engagement last week. And this week we have a post from The Atlantic that is about the marriage effect. That is what the article is called. The kind of synopsis of it is what we found contradicts the negative messages that I had come across. This is the author, obviously. Married mothers are actually happier than unmarried women and married women without children, even controlling for age, family income, and education. So a new study was conducted. Are women who are married and have kids happier? Are they actually the happiest? Is that the upper echelon of happiness for women? And the answer is yes. In fact, it is. And why I think this is so hilarious is because there has not ever actually been evidence to the contrary. There are a lot of women who will quote an article that talks about, or a study that talks about, how unmarried working women are the happiest. That's actually not true. It's not even a real study. It was an opinion that was given by a professor that was quoted like in several reputable publications, right? So they all quoted each other, and the quote all went back to this guy. And this guy says, I think that unmarried working women are the happiest. And that was it. It wasn't even, I've done studies and conducted research, and I have found that, unmarried women are happier than married women with children. It wasn't even that. It was, I just think that unmarried working women are the happiest. That was it. And so to conduct a new research study, ask if the thing that has always been true is actually true, it's gold, honestly. But the thing is that there are people out there who need a study to tell them what inherently most people can just know, right? And I have spoken to a lot of people who have argued with me about this. I get accused of rage baiting whenever I point out that article. So, okay, let me backtrack. So I run ads. Obviously, I'm a business. And I run ads about getting married because, surprise, surprise, I'm a dating coach and I'm a matchmaker. And my whole shtick is helping people get married. So I run ads for visibility to build my audience. That's, pretty common practice. And I commonly get comments that say, this is so stupid. Women don't need to get married. Women don't want to get married. Marriage is outdated. Marriage is a con of the patriarchy, and blah, blah, blah. Marriage hurts women. That's a pretty common comment that I hear or read. And that's just patently false. This is actually not true. And there is not one study that has ever been conducted. And I've looked in the Google research, whatever pages, and I have looked for studies that show that women are happier, single and childless, than women who are married, and this is important, to aligned husbands who share their vision for life, who share their values, and who want kids. There is not any scientific backing that supports that is true broadly. Okay. Of course, there can be case by case exceptions. And it is worth noting that single women tend to be happier than single men. That's true. I'll give that to you. There is also a lot out there to say that single women are happier than women in bad marriages. Also fair. But there is not, and there has not ever been, definitive studies or research to validate the claim that women or men are happier single and childless than they are in a loving, committed marriage with children. It doesn't exist. The thing is that we've been getting married and having kids since literally the conception of humanity, right? If you believe in the Bible, then Adam and Eve. Noah was married. Everyone was married. Everyone gets married. That is so commonplace through all societies since forever. What's new is the concept that we can be happier without marriage. That's a new construct, and it just is not real. I'm sorry, but it just is a false notion that you will be happier on your own than you will being in a loving, committed relationship. Sorry. And I'm actually not sorry about that because why are we promoting this idea that we should be alone, that we should aspire to casual sex and focus on a career and to not bother with human connection in a sacred and committed and real way? I don't understand that. And honestly, I have never come across a happy person being the one promulgating that. The happiest people that I know are married and they have kids. And, like, I don't have kids yet. I really want to. That has not been in the cards for us at this moment, but I have a dog. And to me, that's like, I just want something to care for. And having a dog that gives me not just like, yes, I love that my dog loves me, but the feeling that I get taking care of him, and I give him his haircuts myself. I take him for walks during the day. I talk to him like he's my little buddy. Like, I love, love, love that. And I do believe that that has improved my marriage too. So I can only imagine what kids will bring to our marriage. And I do hope to have them soon. And that's not to say that if you can't have kids that you're going to be miserable or that your marriage is less than. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm sensitive to this issue as someone who wants kids and has not been able to have them yet. However, I also think that it's a disservice to say that you are happier without those things, because that's kind of the crux of humanity, right? Is expansion. Whether you believe this from a religious standpoint or like a scientific standpoint, the purpose of humanity is expansion, right? That's scientific laws are all about expansion. Religion is about expansion, right? The, highest identity of a human being is, I mean, this is what I believe, right? This is my church. We're talking about how we get to like create planets. This is pretty dope. And that gift and that power to create our own planets and to become gods, that is directly linked to having a spouse. So there is no ultimate power of creation without someone else, which is also true about having a baby. You literally get to create more humans, and you do that obviously with someone else. And my parents created 10 more humans. That's wild. But talk about some major expansion there. Like, they really did their part. And I think that that's incredible. And I think that that is such a gift. And I am so happy that finally I feel like society is catching up to that. And society is saying, hey, actually, it's great to have kids. Actually, it's great to be married. Actually, it's great to have a family and to take care of your family and to invest in your family. And honestly, that's something that's newer. Like, I think that marriages are better now than they've ever been. That's why divorce rates are on the decline. So it's no longer 50% of marriages end up in divorce. It's 40 something percent. And that number is decreasing. And what's amazing about that is that divorce rates are the lowest among married couples. So it's not just less people are getting married and so there's less divorces. It's among the people who do get married. So that statistic isn't skewed, right? Among the people who do get married, they're happier and staying together longer now than in any time in history since the 1950s. That's huge. That is so significant. And I love, love, love that. And I think that it's really important to talk about that and to embrace the fact that we have more ability now to choose not just someone to be our spouse, but someone who we get to choose that aligns with us, who shares our values, who has the same goals. Like that's something that wasn't even accessible to our parents. Our parents' generation had who they could meet at college, which was new. But the accessibility of being able to choose someone who is so aligned with you is something that's never been available before. And we also have professionals who are helping you to not only have the relationship skills that you need, but who can support you in your marriage counselors, therapists, coaches. Like my whole industry is all about that. Like we are here not just to help you get married, but to help you create the best relationship, the best home, the best life that you can imagine. And you have the ability to do that now in a way that has never been available before, right? And I do think that there's, can you hear my dog? He is so funny. And I do think that there's a lot of credit that goes to the women who came before us, who made it possible for us to vote and to own property and to work, because the fact is that marriages are better when both parents are more present with their kids. And so men being able to work remote, men being able to work less because their wives are contributing financially and so they don't have to work as much. They're more present, and present moms are important. Absolutely. I will never say that they're not. But we have never actually had a society that is built on present fathers the way that we will be able to build it now. And we will see such incredible things change for the better because of present fathers. The way that men are going to be able to be home with their kids, to help raise them, to help love them, to help discipline them, to be more active partners at home. And the way that that helps wives, like there's a lot of conversation right now around, in the wifey communities around like the mental load. And I have a lot of opinions on that. But I think that being able to share the financial load translates to him being more available to share the mental load. And that's huge. That's so helpful. And honestly, like as a woman who feels a lot of what you're talking about with that conversation, right? Like I get that I'm looking at my house and it's messy and that it's driving me crazy and I want to clean it and I feel like I don't have time because I'm working and I'm creating content and I'm coaching and I'm working with clients or whatever. And that my husband is working and he's looking at it, but it doesn't really bother him, but it bothers me that it doesn't bother him. And I get that whole thing. But I can now also be more patient with, if I ask my husband to do something, he's going to do it, but he's going to do it in his time. And that's going to be okay because we're both working and we're both contributing and we're both present at home. And so, we both take on the responsibility of all of it together, right? And we don't really have these really defined, except that I don't cook. We don't really have these defined roles. We have both of us working towards the same goals and putting in the same effort. And, not, I feel like I have all of the emotional load and he feels like he has all of the financial load. Like we're equally sharing both of those things. And I love that. And I truly think that that makes such a huge difference in our marriage versus observing people who don't have that dynamic in their marriage. But it's possible. We live in a time where so much is accessible and available. Honestly, I think that if you are single right now or at any point in your marriage story, you can right now build the absolute best relationship that our world has probably ever seen. And you can do that because working from home is accessible, building something online is accessible, truly vetting compatibility because you don't lack options, that is all so huge. These are major contributing factors that I think will only get and better and better. I tend to be quite optimistic. I think that society is going to get better. I think marriages are only going to get better. I think that families are only going to get better. And I think that we're going to see this whole notion of, that marriage is bad, or that women shouldn't want it, or that it makes us victims of the patriarchy, whatever. I think we're going to see that dissipate, and it's going to become something totally irrelevant in the coming generations. But I I feel good as a wife thinking about the future because of what's available to me. If you're listening to this and you're, whether you're married or single, there's so much promise. There's so much available to you right now that just has never been there before. And I hope that you reach out and take it. If you're single, hire a coach. Invest in your relationship. Invest in relationship skills. Invest in the marriage that you want to have before you enter it, because I promise you, it is easier to invest preemptively than to repair when you're in it. Okay? So do that. Invest. I have one-on-one coaching spots available right now. I open them every fall. Once they're taken, then they're usually taken for a year. So I probably won't have more spots available open until next fall. But if you're listening to this and you're hearing me and you're like feeling this and you're so energized and optimistic about what you can create and what's available for you and your family that you're dreaming of, reach out to me. Send me an email at livtally@thesealeddeal.com, or reach out to me on Instagram. You can send me a DM. I'm livtallyofficial, and I will send you an application. You do have to fill out an application to be considered, because I have limited time, especially now that I am a matchmaker. I partner with an agency, and so they actually just assign me clients, and that's amazing. But it also means that my time is more limited. So if you want to work together, if you're listening to this and you're like, yes, I am next, I want that Taylor Swift love story. If you're in love with love and you're done with all of the trite, cynical, whatever about how marriage sucks and isn't good, or, whatever, then reach out to me. Let's work together. I will help you calibrate from the inside out to attract the type of man who will show up for you, who's going to be great to you, who's going to build with you. And I will help you find your own Travis Kelce. So that resonates. And I love to do it. I love that so many of my clients get into relationships. 90% of my clients get into relationships. Just bragging about that because it's incredible. And who's next? Who's going to be next? Love is there. Love is waiting for you, but it's waiting for you to truly open up and let it in. And that's what I do with you in coaching, is I help you take down the walls that have blocked you from receiving the love that you want, and welcome it in, and be able to care for it and nurture it in a way that lights you up so that you want to be married forever, right? So connect with me, message me. Thank you for being here. I love you, and I'll talk to you later.